Today, I have been fascinated. Fascinated by people who have called me, seen how I'm doing, asked questions. Some people showing an inordinate interest in this whole notion of earthquakes. And I have spent today studying subduction, seismicity, the largest recorded earthquake ever, a 9.5 in 1960 in Chile. 9.5. What would happen if we hit a 10? Unbelievable. Subduction, tectonic shifting, power and force and magma and collision. And there's no, in 123 CE, during the Han dynasty, or dynasties, I call it a dynasty. I love to watch Dynasty. With that there Linda Evans, it was Dynasty. Anyway, the dynasty. There was a fellow whose name escapes me during the Han dynasty. And he came up with a device that he could predict earthquakes. And you've got to read this. They put a little pebble inside a dragon's mouth and any kind of shaking and it would drop. And when it went off, and it would tell, and you could also tell the direction of where it was coming from. This is a 123 CE roughly. And when it went off, when it dropped, when the pebble dropped, indicating there was an earthquake, they looked at him like, okay. And he said, no, honest, it works. Okay. 2 days later, somebody shows up covered. He goes, you're not going to believe what happened. And he said, uh-huh. Imagine what people thought. Imagine during the course of time when people saw for the first time and felt an earthquake. I have spent today, thank you, YouTube, TED Talks, lectures, the basics of earthquakes, the damage, what's done. Fascinating. Why? I am an autodidact. I love to learn new things. I knew nothing about it. And it made me feel like, oh, this is fascinating. How many people today do you think followed my course and dared to look this up? No, nobody. Nothing. Nobody. Nobody. It's the thing which I do not understand. I do not understand this. I am large. I contain multitudes, as Whitman said. I am large. I contain multitudes. Am I getting through to you? Do you know what the implications of this are? Do you know what we're sitting around here, and I'm in the largest city in the United States with more big buildings than you could ever imagine in one little piece of real estate. You can't believe this. The wealth, the people, the density of this. The other night when I was driving on the West Side Highway, I looked over like where the Trump properties, well, before they took the name down. And just these Riverside, whatever it's called, but just right before like 56, right there on West Side Highway. And I was looking at all these buildings, and at night with all these lights on, and every light is an apartment, and every light has maybe 2 or 3 people, whatever. They're big, and they're stacked up. And in this one swath of real estate, just this one little block, so to speak, there are more people than in some cities. In this one little area right there, just stacked up. It's incredible. And I love to look inside people's homes. I do. I don't have a telescope or anything, but a man can dream. What would happen? Because I'm 9/11 savvy. I was here. What would happen? Just how much can we take? They said the people called they said that it might be 6, 8, a 6, something short of a 7. That could cause some serious damage. We've had earthquakes here in 1800, and we just found out, friends of ours in Jersey, there's an they called it an aftershock. 4.0, not O. O is a letter. Sister Mary Agony, never forget that. 2.0, O is a letter. 0 is a number. Okay, all right. I meant 0. To this day, I remember that. And I'm rather priggish about that. I'm persnickety. Does that sound at all interesting to you? This is where my mind just goes boom. First of all, the sheer power of this. Absolute power. Power, size, numbers. I swear to God, if you had children today, you should just teach, like, let's learn about earthquakes. Learn. And I promise you, you will have nothing even remotely indicative of didactics, teaching the science of earthquakes, and certainly not whether they can be controlled. Certainly. Look at this whole notion of seismicity, subduction. You can spend just a second, just a second. Militarized seismicity. The concept of using and harnessing energy or the generation of artificial earthquakes as a military tool or a weapon. The concept involves the deliberate induction of seismic waves. Induction, not conduction. Induction of seismic waves, which can lead to earthquakes, potentially as a form of warfare or strategic defense mechanism. The idea is rooted in the broader field of geophysical warfare. Geophysical warfare, which includes manipulating natural earth processes for military purposes. The potential to create or trigger seismic events could be used, and is thought to be able to be used, to destabilize regions, destroy infrastructure, or create chaos without conventional use of armed forces. Technologies or methods that might be considered under this concept could include underground nuclear testing, large-scale geoengineering projects. Don't forget geoengineering. What did we used to call chemtrails? That's right. It's here right now. Or other interventions in the Earth's crust designed to release stored elastic energy in the form of seismic waves. Wow. As you can imagine, it's important to note that practicality, ethics, legality, today in warfare ethics, get out of here. Think about this. Doesn't this blow your mind? Didn't I blow your mind this time? Didn't I? I think this is just fascinating. And guess who's speaking to you? Guess who's speaking to you? God. Look what this thing is. Look what's underneath. Imagine. And everything I'm saying now has been thought of 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, whatever. People have been saying since man first was involved in the rain dance. The unspoken science of induced and militarized seismicity. Doesn't it sound good? Sounds good. Sounds right. Subduction. Not induction, not conduction, subduction. Just sliding. The magma, the power. At 10 magnitude, they're trying to find enough. You would need a fault line. You would need 1,000. I don't know. The Chilean 9.5. 9.5. And don't forget, this is logarithmic. So the difference between a 4 and a 5, the 5 is 10 times greater than a 4. A 6 is 100 times greater than a 4. You see, it's logarithmic, base 10. Fascinating. Just imagine. And how would you, I mean, just drill down deep enough, figure out where it goes, detonate something, very simple, out there in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows, just a real boom. Or through some, who knows? And your favorite, I love it, you direct energy weapons. You love that. I know you do. House of Green Lights, remember that? When Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to explain, I don't even know the context of it, but when she tried to explain what appeared to be at best, maybe direct energy weapons, I don't know. They said, oh, what do you call it? Jewish, because you were the Rothschild, I don't want to say Jewish lightning. There's a pejorative term for that, but there's a, it's like, don't dismiss what she's saying. I don't know the context of it, but please do not miss the basis and bases for what she's saying. Since the beginning of time, since the longbow, that was one of the most important moments in warfare. The idea of being able to stretch a bow and to shoot people far away so we don't have to see them. We don't have to deal with them. You see what I'm saying? We don't have to deal with them. You have to look at them, smell them, and see their face and fight. You separate. And this whatever, we talked about Oppenheimer, and nobody really understood. You know that most people still don't understand what Oppenheimer's about. They still don't get it. They understand absolutely nothing about it. Isn't that funny to you? Faye, does that get you? Pittman, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Hillbilly, what's going on? Chick flick? Come on, man. Think about this. God's Borborygmus. The devil's, this serpiginous, reptilian, satanic, deep-leveled power unleashed. Oh, man. Come on, Wes. Come on, man. I am become death. The destroyer of worlds. Think about that. This is just, do you dig this? Are you digging it? Don't tell me I'm wasting my time. Pittman, don't tell me. Marissa, don't tell me I'm wasting my time. Don't tell me you don't get this, don't you? Wow. I've been watching this stuff all day. Oh my God. See a little bit of this, see a little bit of that. Okay, I get it. I understand it. Then we look for those Richter scales, those seismic. Don't you love those little graphs out there? Ooh, they go like that. And God is saying, go ahead. That's just here. Now, our world is so mild, Goldilocks, a little bit of water, a little bit of heat, everything's fine. Temperate, 23 degrees, whatever, the axis gets seasons. You go to some places like Venus, and it's 1,000 degrees with a 800-mile-an-hour wind, whatever it is. I mean, this is nothing. We've got it made. What would we do in the case of a big one? Do you think it's coming? Remember, it was so funny. There was a time. Remember in 80. When was that? Do you remember watching? It was the Oakland. I think earthquake. What was it? The World Series. I'll never forget watching that. And I'm not a big World Series person. It was 1989, the Loma Prieta earthquake. Remember that one? at October 17th at 5:04 p.m. Remember that? The earthquake was during the World Series. It was a 6.9. It shook for 20 seconds and changed the Bay Area forever. Just a 6.9. Don't you remember that one? 1989. I was 31 years old. I remember that. I remember that context. And I remember at the time, I was just starting in talk radio. I was a year into it. I was just brand new. And all of a sudden, people started talking about whether this was God's wrath against San Francisco because of all the gays. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love her. I bring you Bev Taylor. Bev says, thank you, Mr. Lionel, for all that you were doing out there. I love your content and your subject matter expertise. Bev, thank you so very much. Thank you for that. You are very kind. And I thank you for your kind words. I love kindness. Remember that. I love kindness. I love respect. I love people who are respectful to others too. I really do. Except politicians, then they're completely off the hook. I remember the time people said this. I said, do you believe that all of a sudden, does anybody believe that God would send an earthquake to San Francisco? Because of what? But they've been doing this forever. And God would destroy things because of sodomy, because of some type of because of glory holes and baths. And this was 1989. Remember, this was AIDS. Remember, people going crazy then. Remember that one? And I thought at the time, I said, do you think that God would do this? And I said, let me talk to God. I remember one time I was on the air and I was doing something where I was talking to God. And it was a one-sided conversation. And I would do these conversations where I talked to, Thomas Jefferson or James Madison, whoever the hell it was. And people got upset, but I got upset. And I thought to myself, I really want to talk to God about this. I want to know what God thinks. I want to personalize God so that I can speak to God and say, did you do this? I know you had that water thing, but, with the flood, your diluvian period. And God says, excuse me, yes, I've been warning you for the longest time that place is not a good place to build. In fact, I made it real hilly. And what did you do? You built on it. You built on it. The same way you idiots have Gulf Coast property and, in the Gulf of Mexico. That's where the hurricanes are from. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? And you're blaming me because I did this? No. People actually were saying this. You don't remember this at the time. You think I'm kidding. People, AIDS freak. That was a natural earthquake. That was something that was the most incredible thing anybody's ever seen before. They couldn't believe this. This was like this curse from it was Satan incarnate to shut off immune systems, and theoretically, purportedly being promoted and produced and transmitted via the work of people who were gay or IV drug users and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it was something. It was something at the time. And the thing about it is that what do we do? What does one do? What are you looking for? I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see exactly how little is done. The first thing I would do if I was the mayor or the governor is I would say, I want you to understand something. On my website, I have appointed, I'm here in New York. I've got Columbia University. I've got Stevens Technology. I've got the Rockefeller this. I got Barnard College. I've got Rutgers, SUNY. We've got Princeton. We got everybody around in there. Yale's over there in Connecticut. I got everybody. And I would pick a blue ribbon committee. You understand this? I would pick a blue ribbon committee to talk and to discuss what we do next. I would, and not a Fauci. I would be proactive. I would say, we're going to get to the bottom of this. What happens if let's do this? Let's have public hearing. Let these people love to do it. Let's say we had a 5, maybe a 6 or a 7. Remember, each one, this is logarithmic, each one is a power of 10. A 7, wow. Think about that. An 8, a 9, 5. What would we do? Where would we go? What would happen to bridges? What can it withstand? Do you think there's any chance of this being at all through some kind of weird, being able to induce kind of a weaponized collapse via subduction? I don't know. I'm not an expert. But you know what people would do? Nothing. Do you know what's going to happen in 3 days from now? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to forget the whole thing. 3 days. Nothing. 3 days. This morning, 10:23. 10:23. I always look at the clock. When I see something, I always look at the clock. If I see an accident, I look at the clock. When I hear something, I look at the clock. I have this thing about from years and years of being, when somebody's testifying and people say, well, when did you have that? When did this happen? What time is, I always, and they say, I don't know. I just do this. And I looked and it was 10:23 exactly. And I was on the phone this morning waiting to go on with my good friend Mark Simone, who has the most popular talk show host in New York. He has the only talk show host show in New York. The rest of them suck. They're so bad. You have no idea. I don't even listen to them. They're horrible. I mean, they're terrible. They all want to be Rush, but he's different. He's the best. Anyway, but don't tell anybody I said that. So I was waiting. And he's talking about the solar eclipse. He's talking about the solar eclipse. I got to read this one thing for you. This is great. And say what you want about this man. Say what you want about this man. God bless Alex Jones. Let me tell you what he said. This said it all. This is why I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But look at this. Where is this one story? This is so good about, he was on with, I got to read this too. I must read it correctly. I should have it here. It was about the reptilians and it was so beautiful. I'll find it. I think he was talking to Mike, whatever his name was. He was talking about reptiles. And it was just wonderful. This, I'll find it. And I thought to myself, my God, maybe there's something to this. You know who's a very interesting person? And I don't know enough about him. David Icke. Icke, right? And he is one of these things, which is the most important. I think it's very, very interesting. And David Icke, it was sad. I think his daughter or something passed away. And this was a fellow who was always interesting because he talked about things like reptiles. He's big into reptiles. The royal family are reptiles. And I don't know enough about what he said, so I don't want to dismiss what he said. I don't care, whatever. And then people use these words. And like I said, I want you to understand something. I suspend, unless I am able to immediately. I can suspect that somebody's crazy. He's certainly not crazy. But when things like this happen, it kicks in this atavistic part of us. When we go back in time and we start thinking very, very interesting about the way people look and this and that. And also, remember, 3 days, we're going to forget the whole thing. Do you remember this woman named Kate Middleton? What happened to her? Look at this. Gracie, you can't believe this. The other day, we were talking about Kate Middleton. She was nowhere to be found. They pulled together some ridiculous thing, alleged to be AI, alleged to be some phony, whatever it was, and she's nowhere to be found. And we just stopped talking about her. We just stopped talking about Kate Middleton. Like she doesn't exist anymore. I don't understand. I don't. What happened to her? Charles's cancer? What cancer? I think this is fascinating. Here's my only thing to you. This is the only thing to you, okay? Listen to this. This is the part which I really want you to understand. Do you feel fascinated by something? Do you feel when things like this, do you just say, "Oh, that's interesting," or is there anything in you that comes over you? Do you ever feel fascinated? Do you ever find yourself saying, "I really," not that you can't sleep, but you say, "This is really good. This is really weird." Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like that? I do all the time. I swear to you, I think, wow. And there's nobody. This is L notwithstanding, but nobody even so far said, do you see what's going on here? Nothing. Nothing. Do you ever ask yourself this question? Why is it that we collectively have this almost like a learning disability where we can't follow things long enough? We can't stay attuned to anything long enough. We just get bored. It was so much more interesting than. Do you remember? Of course, everybody remembers Art Bell. Oh my God, it was wonderful. Art Bell. He never belittled it. I get the impression, and with all due respect, and I love these people, but when Joe Rogan does it, or uh, Tucker, and by the way, little parenthetical note here: Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen to her interview with Tucker. Superb, superb. Because he's talking about Mike Johnson being blackmailed. What? Blackmail. Blackmail. Yeah. Well, how's that possible? Where have you been? Where have you been? Think about that one. Here's something else. Here's something else. The other day, I said something very interesting. I think interesting to a friend of mine. And he looked at me and he thought I had lost my mind. I said, "Do you remember? Have you heard about this? I know you don't care about this. I know you don't. I know you don't care about this. I know you don't, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hugh Jackman has been acting very odd lately. I know I don't care. I just read in Daily Mail. I go, what's wrong with Hugh Jackman? Why is he acting like this? I'm saying Hugh Jackman put you up for that, up to that. Nobody's reviewing Hugh Jackman's Instagram and commenting. Hugh Jackman is saying that. Why is he doing that? Why? And then all of a sudden, I don't know why. Don't ask me why. You know who I thought of? Bruce Jenner. Do you know that years ago I told somebody, you know about Bruce Jenner, don't you? He says, what do you mean? The athlete. He's transitioning. Now, I know this sounds, you're not going to believe this, but everybody knew this. Been known for years. And he looked at me and says, you're crazy. You're sick. Because people just think I'm just, I'm crazy. I said, no. And then it happened. And this man went from this athlete, this, wow, masculine, to Caitlyn Jenner. By the way, he still prefers women, which is so interesting. I know we're going to get back to the earthquake in a moment. But it was fascinating to me. And I said, so anyway, when I saw it today, people were talking about this. What's going on with Hugh Jackman? What's going on with Hugh Jackman? Don't ask me why. I swear to God, I thought of Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner. And I'm thinking, isn't that odd? Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Edie Crowley says, my mom grew up in San Francisco. Her mom would peek in the room during a tremor and calmly tell her, it's just an earthquake. Oh, I know. I remember one time there was a great bar. Thank you, Edie. There was a great old bar I happened into. It was in the East Bay area. And it was it looked great. It was like in this little strip mall. And I walked in and there were these old timers. Do you ever see the way an old man like wears a cap, like tilted, like a veteran, but he has like tilted, and he wears like the same cap every day, but it's the old man look. And they sat there, and it was very quiet, just drinking PBRs, and I don't know what it was. I'm rolling in there, and they were talking about earthquakes like it was nothing. Interesting. Now we can talk about this. This is interesting. As I was discussing today, my friend. Oh, I know what it was. It was Alex Jones was talking about the solar eclipse and how this is, and why the eclipse and this and that, and I've heard, if I hear one more person say, "Now don't stare at it. Please don't stare at the solar eclipse. Make sure you get that piece of paper with the hole in it, or wear those funny glasses, but don't look at it." How many times have you heard this? Whatever you do, don't look at it. Anybody who's stupid enough, who doesn't know this, I think deserves whatever happens. Call me wacky, but there's something wrong. But this is what I mean. We're looking at this right now. We're kind of saying, well, we kind of know what it is. But imagine not knowing thousands of years ago, and you're freaking out, and you're wondering, what is this? Think about it. One of the things which is so interesting is that right now we are living in the weirdest of times, the strangest of times. Stop for a second. It may look like normal to you, but it's not. It may look like normal to you, but I'm just saying, if you think this is good, just look around. And I mentioned geoengineering. What is the weirdest thing that you have right now? What do you think is the most interesting? What do you think is the most interesting story right now? What is the story that just absolutely captivates you? The story which you just cannot get over. Gina, thank you, Gina. How deliciously and wonderfully nice and kind and sweet of you. Thank you so much for that. What story gets you? What story gets you? Here's one that I said today. It just gets me. Something that just comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, out of nowhere. You ready for this? Are you ready? Squatters. What? Squatters. What about them? Where'd they come from? Who? What do you mean, where'd they come from? Did you ever hear squatters before? No. I mean, you heard kind of them. Squatters' rights. They've been a part of our collective history, but squatting? Where did this come from? Why did this happen? It's orchestrated. It's contrived. It's the story of people in choreographed, orchestrated, instructed swaths that are like swarms. And instead of anybody saying, okay, listen up, Collier County, Henderson County, whatever it is, I'm Sheriff Buford Pusser. Be on the lookout. Let me warn you, we don't allow squatters here. We do not do this. If you think we're going to go through this, or we're going to go to court, no, you're going to be called a burglar. And if we catch you inside somebody's home, you are a felon. And do not be surprised if you are met with a hail of, shall we say, force to remove you. Stand your ground. Remember, stand your ground laws. The castle doctrine. What is the castle doctrine? The castle doctrine is very important. The castle doctrine says there's no duty to retreat from your home. Deadly force can be used in certain jurisdictions. Willie Will, thank you so much, my good friend. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am. I think it's a sir. Or a they. I don't know. But in any event, grazie mille. Sincerely. Thank you. This is what I would say. Why this? Forget the earthquake. I'm saying I don't understand this. I don't understand this. If I come into your home at 3:00 in the morning, and I break something, or I come in and I forcibly enter, and you decide to defend your family, your hearth, and you dispatch me, I promise you, there isn't a jury or probably anybody who would even charge you. I broke into your home at night, plus the castle doctrine, plus no duty to retreat, plus no. But yet, this is what I don't understand. For squatters, don't call it, they're burglars. What do you mean squatters? I'm going to squat at night. How did this happen? Nobody can tell me what the hell is going. I don't understand it. What do you mean? If somebody goes in, a deputy sheriff, and says, "Do you live here?" "I live here." "Okay, who are they?" "I don't know who these people are." "Hey, who are you?" "Well, I got a piece of paper." Get them, throw them out. Do me a favor, take your paper and wipe your arse with it and go to court, and you go to court and you sling it up. But in the meantime, and the presumption is that you're going to get out of here. Why don't we do that? I don't understand. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand. And I'm expecting people to find the mystery of the earthquake. We're so stupid. We don't even know what's. We don't go to school. We don't go to church. We don't care. We don't care about anything. Nothing. And I'm expecting. Get me out. Stop it. Stop it. 3 days, nobody's going to be talking about the earthquake. Nobody. What are the precautions? What happened? Where do you go if there's an earthquake? Let me ask you a question. Where do you go? You got your bug out bag or whatever the hell it's called, or a boogie bag or whatever. Where do you go? We got a call today from friends in Philly all the way to Greenwich, Connecticut, and everywhere around. Where do we go? Let's say all hell breaks loose. What do you do? I don't know. I promise you, it would make so much sense. You would think the mayor of New York would sit there and say, I'm going to go on and I'm going to tell people about this. I'm going to tell people this is what you do in the event of an earthquake. I'm going to tell you this is what you're going to do in the event of squatters. I'm going to tell you what you do in the event of they don't do anything. They don't take the opportunity to really to militarize in terms of having people act according. What do you do about this? Last night we had a very interesting event at the Metropolitan Republican Club with Dick Morris and some very, very earnest and very, very scared people. And we were talking about something, and Dick Morris was saying, well, what we need to do, what do you understand we need to do is we need to figure out a way to implement more driver's license and photo ID. And somebody said, Dick, okay, that's his name, Dick, they're going to steal it. What are you talking about? Photo ID, affidavits? What the hell are you talking about? And I'm thinking to myself, this is the voice of America. Nobody's going to say, photo ID. Don't know how to steal the election. Well, they got a photo ID. Are you kidding me? Our good friend Horace Pringle says, when Superman came out in 1975, he came out? Superman? Oh. My cousins from Palo Alto cried during the earthquake sequence. They got PTSD from the film and will not watch it even now. That scene is really horrifying. Thank you very much, my friend. And thank you, Horace. Do you know that in the case of, there was a movie I put up with I think it was Marjo Gortner was in it, George Kennedy, Lorne Greene, Genevieve Bujold, Irwin Allen, Earthquake. Remember that one? I tried to tell you this morning there's something why shaking, when you feel something, when something is shaking around you, even though you've been here in New York all the time, you feel, if you're near a subway track, you feel it. We feel it all the time. We're in buildings. This building here cracks and creaks. And when I was on Court TV years ago, this building on 3rd Avenue was like, oh my God. I thought this thing's going to topple over. Nope. It was just a kind of sway, and they kind of worked it into it. But when your ground is shaking, today sitting right here, I thought 1023. I thought, what the hell is this? Did I say no? It was 1023 because I was on at 40. It was 1023. 1023. Remember, I said that 1023 is when we heard it, and then I went on at 1040, and we were sitting there. Oh yeah, 1023. There it was. I thought you said 40. I told Mrs. I said, mark the time. Mark the time. Remember these things. They're important. It was the weirdest thing. It was strange. What do we do? Where do we go? And I guarantee you tonight, people say, what's an earthquake? I don't know. What causes it? I don't know. What's the biggest earthquake? I don't know. And somebody asked before, where is Kate? What happened to us? Where is there's nothing. Look at this. Our good friend, Steve Resor, or Rezer, a member for 3 months, Steve, says, Lionel, should the dead have to show up to vote? That's a great question. And have an ID. I've got so many things I want to say to you. I don't have enough time. There's so much to tell you. This is what we're looking at right now, today. And again, if you're not in New York, you say, what are you going to do about it? It's like, if all of a sudden there was an earthquake in Cincinnati, you say, oh, okay, and I know it's not, nothing really happened. It was just a little bit of a vibration. And is that it? But it just made me just think about everything that could go wrong. Last night, Dick Morris said something which I agreed with, but I'm not sure. You see, one of the reasons is we don't know why people do stuff. We know they do stuff, but we don't know why they do it. And the why part will always get you in trouble. And one of the reasons why is the following of this. They said there is a real dissatisfaction, a real serious contingent, a swath, dare I say, of young people in this humanity that are going to not vote the usual party lines this time. And it was posited by Dick Morris that one of the reasons why is because during the COVID menace, young people in particular, lost patches and huge portions of their life. They had to, they couldn't go to school. They couldn't play sports. They couldn't date. They couldn't do whatever it was. And they never forgot this. They lost faith. And I wanted to ask, so are you saying they attributed this to the Democrats or the government or Trump, or what did you think? I'm going to submit something to you right now. I don't think it matters I don't think young people today give a damn about anything. We always keep talking about, Gen Z. This Gen Z, there's always this new group of, these kids they're different. Let me give you 2 examples. Ready for this? Are you enjoying yourself? I want to make sure you're enjoying yourself. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. You gotta catch up. Remember what I'm telling you. You gotta catch up. This is scary, scary stuff. Remember this. I am large. I contain multitudes. Walt Whitman said that. Remember that. I am large. I contain multitudes. Number 1. Did you know that Sex and the City is on Netflix? Did you know this, ladies and gentlemen? How many of you gals like Sex and the City? Do you know how important that was? Sex and the City was, in many respects, it did to New York what Woody Allen movies did. Remember that? Do you remember that? Any of you ladies, any of you gals, remember watching Sex and the City? Did you enjoy it? It was one of the best programs ever. Face is not me. It was so stupid. No. Mr. Big, See this, Marissa said, I always do. It was one of the most important shows ever, ever. It was like Sex and the Single Girl. It was Betty Friedan. It was one of the most, an all women ensemble, New York. They were basically tramp sluts, skeeves, and skanks, but they were each different. They were empowered. It was about friendship and whatever it is. Look, I think one of the most stupid things in the world is golf. It is so stupid to me. I played golf one time, but I'm fascinated by what golf represents. I don't ask you to like Sex in the City. I want you to understand what it means. That's all. Do you know what Soul Train meant? You know what Don Cornelius meant to people? You have no idea. Soul Train was my life. Soul Train was American Bandstand, but for cool people, it was wow. You mean, what's that about? You missed the point. See, the secret to life is going through and picking out things and saying, that's important. McDonald's was critical. Why? Fast food, never had it before. You got to know these things. Well, I never went to McDonald's. I don't care whether you went to McDonald's. Whoever asked you, did you like it? No, I didn't ask you whether you like it. You understand what it means. Yeah, but I don't like me. I don't care about that. I don't watch cable. I don't have cable. Nobody asks you whether you like cable. See, that's what people do. They love to play. They think ignorance is attractive. I don't know anything about that. I never heard the Beatles. I never heard the Beatles once. I never read a book. What? Go to a movie? I never been to a movie before. I don't know who. Presidents? I don't know. I don't vote. I don't know anything. Why is that attractive? I don't know. I have a certain independent streak to me, and God damn it, I don't watch that TV. I don't wrestling, boxing, no, football, nope, nothing. I don't do anything, and I'm proud of it. I don't. So don't do that. Listen to what I'm saying. Young people today are loving it on Netflix. Why do you think that is? Why? There's a huge resurgence in Sex in the City because young people, for the first time, are saying, wait a minute, Gen Zers, whoever the hell this crop is, Gen XZ, I don't know who the hell the people are. They're saying, did they do that? Yes. One time, there was a woman, so help me God, who asked Mrs. L what was dating like. She's in her 20s, has no idea. None. Because they're into this and, whatever. Sex in the City. Is that what it was about? Yes. Promiscuity? Did you meet like that? Yeah. And you dressed up? Yeah. And you didn't look like slobs? Nope. And you went out and you had like nice lunches and you lived in nice places and okay. And you wore nice things and you had 4 friends that were all different and you had all these problems and oh my God. Guess what else is interesting? You know that it's been about 20 years since the last episode of The Sopranos. Anybody you watch The Sopranos? I never watched The Sopranos one time. I don't even know what the hell The Sopranos is. I don't know who it is. I don't know Tony Soprano. James Gandol, who? I don't watch that. I don't know any damn thing about any damn Sopranos, and I'm proud of it. When it comes to culture, count me out, my friend. I don't know dick about that, and I'm proud of it. I don't know anything about it, so don't ask me about The Sopranos. I don't know who that is or who she is, or I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know anything, and I'm proud of it. So don't ask me. I don't know. I'll save you the time. I don't know. Well, The Sopranos was 20 years ago. Now is all of a sudden the biggest. People are seeing it for the first time. Why do you think that is? I have no idea why they're watching it, but I don't. So don't ask me, okay? Why do you think it is? Let me save you the thinking. These same people, young people who were saying, is this what dating was like? You mean you dated like that? Really? Wow, looks kind of fun. And you cared how you looked, and you weren't walking around in pajamas and scuffies and Uggs, and you shaved under your arms, and you weren't sitting in bed all day with your therapy dog crying and doing your cannabis gummies and tweeting. I mean, you got out and you worked. Think I'm kidding? But The Sopranos. Why did they love The Sopranos? Why? Why do you think? Young people. What was The Sopranos? Absolutely politically incorrect, racist, homophobic. Remember when they get Vito or whatever, they kill him because he's gay. And that's an old story about, that was the old, that kind of sort of happened. But they are saying, what? These little snowflakey, don't say that, homophobic. They killed him in some Fort Lee motel with Phil Leotardo beating the crap out of this guy as they duct taped him and stuck a pool cue up his, you got that one? Remember that? They're watching this. This was 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. Remember when Meadow was going out with this biracial kid? Oh my God. And Tony told me, he says, get up, because he acted like a legitimate, honest to God, Caldwell, New Jersey mobster who didn't care for that. And what am I saying? Kids loved it because they didn't know. Did you this is kind of good. See what free thinking is? See what the art, see what it's like? James Gandolfini was not that person. It wasn't real. It wasn't. So look at who people are today. Look at young people in particular. It's not that they're not going to vote because they, with all due respect, because they went through COVID. They loved COVID. They got to stay inside and revert and give up and stay home. They loved it. They loved to do that. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to go. They would take any vaccine. They would. You could give a vaccine in their ass. They didn't care. They loved it. They had their Vax app. They got this contact tracing. Got my 9 masks. Got everything. Stay at home, remote. I'm not going to work. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to watch Netflix, the old stuff, get takeout, sit in my PJs with my dog, my therapy dog, and my Scott, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm not even going to go back to work. That wasn't anybody's fault. Something happened. So now they're saying, wait a minute. These same people, when they're saying, listen, we're going to force you into culture. 20 years ago, look what we were watching. Look what we were watching. This is the way it was 20 years ago. It was fun. It was the most have you ever watched Dynasty? When they were you would call it homophobic. They didn't even know what the word was. Now, I'm not necessarily endorsing it. But what I'm seeing right now is, and I can tell by today's earthquake, we are so intellectually, spiritually, and creatively, I guess, moribund. We are concretized. We are frozen. We are just, and we're kind of getting out of that a little bit. But we're going to have to do this. And we need you in the front line. I want you to go on and pay attention to stuff. I want you to understand. Here's a story that I'm going to tell you right now that when I brought it up last time, you didn't understand it. Not you, but a lot of other people. Barbie. People said, I know, it's the most stupid story. You didn't go. I know. You feel good about yourself? I sure do. Good. Another thing you don't know anything about. You better believe it. I have a library of things I don't know anything about. They're empty shelves. They're called empty. See all those empty shelves? Yeah, those are things I don't know. See that? I don't know anything about it. Barbie was one of those cultural things that I couldn't believe that people missed. For the first time, girls, you ready for this? Were getting frilly and silly and wearing dresses and pink and having parties and acting like girls. not like a bunch of non-binary whatever. It was a celebration of gender. I couldn't believe it, where women were superior. It was obvious. It was the biggest story around, and people missed it. It's like, this is great. I'm not asking to give it an Academy Award, but it was more important than Oppenheimer. George Keane says, why doesn't Netflix or the other similar services run a dating service? You are what you watch. Also, what about Lionel Cinema? Movie recommendations to your media empire. George, I thank you so much for that. I'll tell you, movie is very simple, very simple. Very, very simple. I'm not going to go into these to hear like Scorsese. Godfather 1, Godfather 2. The next two are Network and Fatso with Dom DeLuise. After that, we can kind of, discuss stuff. And you come about Kurosawa and Rashomon and all that pretend stuff. Sometimes I watch these movies and I think, oh my God, Casablanca was the most boring. I like movies that mean something to me. Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles, one of the reasons was Linda Hazlitt. Linda, God bless you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for that. You are very, very nice. I appreciate that immensely. Seriously. People say, what's so great about Blazing Saddles? The fart scene. What? The fart scene. They used the N word more than you could imagine. And they used it funnily. They wasn't afraid. This is when America had balls. The black sheriff, it was beautiful. Remember the old lady who used the N word? They didn't even call it the N word because we were so smart. We didn't realize we're making fun of people who actually believe this stuff. But the fart scene was the most important thing in the world. The fart scene there were these moments in cinema where people think, oh my God, there's American Pie. Remember that where he strips the pie? Okay, great. Okay. That was great. How about something about Mary? Remember that with the thing in her hair? Okay, that's interesting. All right. That's funny. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Fart scene. And it was so over the top. It was beautiful. And it was crude and rude, and they tried so hard not to laugh. And it exposed the humanity of these people. I know you think I'm out of my mind, but it's a God's honest truth. Blazing Saddles was one of the most important movies ever. I Love Lucy was one of the critical moments. Critical. What Desi Arnaz did, was a genius. A genius. Now, let me go back to what's going on. By the way, thank you for this. Tomorrow, nobody's going to be talking about the earthquake because it happened here. Nobody died, and that's terrific. Kate, nobody talks about that. Remember that? East Palestine. Nobody cares about that. Pops Biden's flying over. Did you see this? He's walking around with his aviators looking at he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's so gone, it's not even funny. He's so gone, it's not even funny. Nobody knows what that's all about. That's going to be forgotten. Why? 3 days. Chinese weather balloons, gone. Cape Middleton, gone. Northern California fires, gone. Lahaina, gone. Nobody's talking about that anymore. Nobody. What happened to bird flu? Gone. Monkeypox, gone. Just they try it. It's gone. It's like on a conveyor belt. Speaking of I Love Lucy, it's like, when they were eating it's gone. We just sit back. It's gone. Nobody knows anything. Believe me when I'm telling you this. So that's why when somebody's trying to understand, like when I was talking to Dick Morris, who's very good, he knows a lot about the numbers and this and that. I said, I want you to understand something that's very, very important. Everybody here right now is speaking to me. Everybody here is afraid. You're not paralyzed by fear, but you've never seen anything like this before. You've never seen anything like this. You don't even know how to deal with it anymore. You don't know how to do it. You calm yourself down. You're thinking, how bad is this going to get? It's going to get better, right? Not necessarily. You can't imagine things getting worse because you're looking around and you see it. You see that we have been, Let me ask you something. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when gasoline cars are illegal? What are you going to do when you are forced, when you will not be allowed to drive a gasoline vehicle? And they're not going to ask you, well, I can't afford. Sorry. It's coming. It's coming. Look at already. Look at, just ask yourself, ask friends of yours in the business, certain models, certain things. Ask yourself the question. I'm not here, by the way. I'm not here. What are you going to do? Who's going to look out for you? Does that sound impossible to you? Does that sound? I'm not getting that. So I'm not getting up. Who do you think is going to do anything? I'm not getting that. They can just, as far as I'm concerned, they can just answer the goddamn thing themselves. And the reason why we got to have a damn landline is because the phones don't work in this. It's a long story. This is the thing I wanted to tell Dick Morris. It's a very, very simple thing. And I want you to understand something. And I want you to do me a favor. And I want you to promise me that everybody you talk to, every single person you talk to, I want you to remember this. The elections coming up are very easily described. Very easily. Just no matter who you are. Black, white, gay, straight, trans, I don't care. Ask yourself this question. Do you want 4 more years of this shit? Hate to be crude, but it's our patois and it means something. Do you want 4 more years of this or bullshit, which is exactly what it is? That's it. If you do, vote Democrat. If you don't, vote for Donald Trump. That's it. So you can take all your stuff. That's it. Every single, I would have everybody on is everywhere. Very simple. One thing. Forget inflation. Forget about this. Forget about crime and the borders. No. Do you want 4 more years of this? They're just getting started. Do you want 4 more years of this? That's it. Do you know anybody who said, yeah, I really want to see. I mean, I'm going to see more men in more sports. I want to see more border breaches. I want to see higher crime. I want to see the economy just implode. I want to see the next swath, the next wave of some kind of pandemic. I want to have forced medical treatment, and by the way, vaccines won't be, forget COVID, Gardasil for HPV, and I want a complete and total medical tyranny and biomedical martial law. I want to be stripped of the ability to protect myself. I want to see the filibuster removed. I want the Democrats to pack the Supreme Court. And I want D.C. to be a new state. And I want there to be a permanent Democratic party. That's what I want. I want to see a complete and total ruination of the family, of gender, of dating, of church, of state. I want everything. I want self-esteem. I want pride to be completely destroyed. I want all of our treasury to go to Israel and Ukraine, any place but here. I want no infrastructure, nothing. And I want fentanyl deaths and overdose to be, I want to step over dead people in the street. I want there to be just a veritable human cacophony, a wave, if you will, just mounds and mounds of dead people, carcasses, corpses all over the place, strewn about from fentanyl poison. No overdose, poisoned. I want a complete and total subjugation to China. I want them to own everything. I want AGI and AI to be unrivaled, unbridled, and out of control. I want complete and total 24/7 panopticon surveillance, and I want nothing, no private ownership of anything. I want to mortgage and leverage my children and grandchildren's future. And I want to say basically, so long and sayonara, good old USA, and take your Constitution and that's what I want. That's it. That's the election. That's it. And I want you to do me a favor. There are these moments of brilliance. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sometimes she says stuff that's just, it's like, oh, for God's sake. Enough with this trailer park business. You know, hee-haw has been canceled, but then she'll say something. And she'll be saying something. She says, it's Mike Johnson. Are they blackmailing him? You wouldn't believe the stuff that I hear. I've been hearing stuff for the longest time. They talk about this thing in Washington called this letter under the door, or the envelope under the door. And you open it up supposedly, and it symbolizes you caught in flagrante delicto. Now do you know what Epstein's about? Now do you know what he's about? Now do you know what? Do you get this? Do you know what extortion means? Do you know what I can do if I've got you? I mean, and not just with another woman. And I'm not suggesting this is Mr. Johnson's case, but I'm saying, do you know what it's about? I've hit you with a lot of stuff. We've been on talking for an hour and 5 minutes right now. My brain is absolutely on fire. I've never felt like this in a very long time. I have never seen anything like this. I have never seen my country. I've never seen anything like what I'm seeing right now. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. So I want you to make sure every person you talk to, don't bludgeon them, don't clobber them, don't make them feel stupid, but just ask them, do you want 4 more years of this routine, this menu? See what they say. Because they can say, well, no. I didn't ask about Trump. I didn't say anything about Trump. I never mentioned Trump one time. You did. I didn't say that. Do you want to continue this? Do you like what you're seeing? Do you like this? They can't say they do because they haven't thought that way. They haven't thought about it. It's a very simple thing. It's a very simple. You could forget all your argument. Do you want 4 more years of this? You want to do this? I can guarantee you here. These are great times, my friend. And let me tell you something. Okay? I want you to listen to me. Whenever your friends say, I think you're crazy, I think you've lost your mind. Dave, and your name's not Dave, but Dave, you've been saying some stuff about some pretty wacky stuff. And I want to tell you something. You're kind of scaring me. Because I think you're into this conspiracy stuff a little bit too much. That's when you know you've just begun to start. That's when you're scratching the surface. Because if you knew what you don't know, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You would, if you knew what you don't know, if you knew what they are keeping from you, if you knew what nobody wants to think or admit, if you knew the real truth, you wouldn't know what to do. You'd be paralyzed. If you knew, it's there. And how do you think you're going to know this? How? You think they're going to just give it to you? You think they're going to say, okay, it's about time that we level with you. Okay, what do you want to know? No, you're going to have to grab the truth and fight it and say, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. You have to be your own truth warrior, your truth sentry, your own centurion. You've got to be a gladiator. You've got to go out there. You've got to do this. They're not going to give you the truth. They're not going to hand anything to you. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do anything. You understand this? That's all. That's all. That's all, my friends. That's all. If you knew what you don't know, wow. So, my friends, let me ask you this, dear friends. Let me say to you, to Linda Hazlitt, thank you. George Keene, thank you. Steve Reeser, thank you. Horace Pringle, thank you. Willie Will, what can I say, dear friend? Your magnanimity and your beneficence, thank you. Gina, thank you. Edie Crowley, thank you. And Bev Taylor, who, by the way, invented the Bev nap. Most people don't know this. I want to thank you for that. So, my friends, we're going to be back in the saddle tomorrow at 8 a.m. Tonight, when you get a chance, do yourself a favor, do yourself a grand favor, and enjoy this thing called, just learn about, the Chilean 1960 9.5. God. So from a let's say from a 5, so that's 4. So that's what, this is 10. This is 10, 100, 1,000. It's like 10,000 times more. Oh my God! Remember, it's logarithmic. Each additional number is 10 times. Oh my God! Unbelievable. Don't forget, dear friends, also subscribe to Lionel Legal. Lionel Legal. You have no idea. There's a brand new video I put out this eve. A brand new video, which are just, which is very, very important. Very, very critical. And this is called, We All Know Earthquakes Have Been Weaponized. May I give this one to you? I'm going to give this one to you. I'll put it right in your thing right there. We all know this. All right, dear friends. Thank you. Have a wonderful and a safe day. Thank you for your love and thank you for your support. And then he said, look at this. I just looked up 111.11. So help me God. Just then I looked up 111.11. Think you know what that means? All right, my friends. And also one more thing, and I ask you, very, very important. Mrs. L did an interview tonight with one of the most important. Wait till you hear this woman's story. This woman who was incarcerated. Just her life, you will not believe how she turned it around. The power, the inspiration. Mrs. L, follow her on Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. Lynn's Warriors, Lynn's Warriors, Lynns Warriors, no E in there. And also follow her on X or Twitter, I don't say X, at Lynn's Warriors with an underscore. All right? And one more time, don't forget too, I'm telling you right now, remember this, Lionel Legal, because that's the other channel. And you want to make sure you're on charge or on tap with both. All right, dear friends, have a great, a glorious, and a beautiful day. Thank you again so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. And until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over.